So I always forget.
No, that's good. Yeah,
Uh,
good.
okay, super. Okay, alrighty. Michelle is Mars, and she's our librarian, and she's going to tell you all about everything that you can get at the library that you probably didn't know about.
Or maybe
Okay.
you did, and I'll just tell you anyway. Good morning, everyone. I hope this morning finds you well and cozy wherever it is that you are. I do find the weather to be a little bit erratic lately, so it's always an adventure. So just like Linda said, my name is Michelle DeMars, and I am the health sciences librarian. I cover the departments of health science, healthcare administration, nursing, physical therapy, and kinesiology. So I come to librarianship a little bit differently than some of my librarian friends, in that I spent 15 years working in a hospital, primarily in the area of maternal fetal medicine. That's high risk pregnancies. While I was working there, I worked primarily as a assistant clinical research coordinator. That meant that I worked with the doctors and the nurses to help them execute their clinical research. So whether that was maintaining our IRB privileges, designing a consent form, consenting patients, running lab work, um, anything that really had to do with the functionality of that clinical research study, that kind of fell into my wheelhouse in that role. But also, when we were done with our studies, the doctors do what doctors always want to do, and that's that you want to share the findings that you found. And so I did find myself in the hospital library quite a bit, doing those lit reviews that you always see in the beginning of articles. And so I decided I liked it there. I wanted to stay. So I went off and got myself a master's degree in information and library science, which is what a librarian needs to be a librarian. So I tell you this not only to tell you that I approach my view of librarianship from this very much a healthcare lens, but also to tell you that I am just one of 20 librarians, each with our own subject expertise. Okay, so I bring my learned experience from the hospital into my daily job, as do my other librarian friends who have their own backgrounds and their own experiences. So we have a biology librarian, we have a literature librarian, we have an arts librarian. So if you have an assignment not for this class, but for a different class, and you would like an expert in your field for research, then you can go ahead and reach out to any librarian from, whatever area that it is that you're researching, and you can reach out to them for help in that role. You can reach out to me as well for any topic. I'll take whatever, but you could also reach out to any of the other librarians as well. Okay, so now that you know just a teeny little bit about me, what I would love to know is a little tiny bit about you. I do have, we're going to be doing a lot of interaction today. So just let that wash over you. I'm going to be asking you to do things. And just know that we're gonna do things. The first thing is that we are going to be using chat quite a bit. I find that that can kind of gauge, especially when I don't have a lot of cameras on. It helps me to know that y'all are still there, that my computer is still functioning, Zoom is still connected, things like that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open that chat, and I would like you to tell me one thing that you find to be a barrier to using the library. So whether that's the physical library, something on one of the floors, something that makes it more difficult for you to get there, what have you, it can be the physical library or it can be the digital library. Perhaps you've looked for something, couldn't find it, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and open the chat, and I'm just going to go ahead and type in the word barriers to remind you that that's what we're looking for. And I'd like everyone to try to do one. So we should get quite a few here. I'm going to give us 2 minutes to put those in. I'm very forgiving with what you put in. You can put whatever you like. I've had people put microwaves because they wanted more microwaves in the library, and that made it harder for them because of food problems. So, whatever you like, we're going to take 2 minutes to talk about barriers. Go ahead and drop those in the chat, please. All righty, I already see some rolling in. I'm just going to start to talk about these. Y'all can keep populating. So database navigation. So luckily that is one thing that we are definitely going to talk about today. I'll put it in my notes just in case I forget, but I don't think I will. We're definitely going to talk about databases today. We're going to talk about different ways that we can access information, some different search strategies. So we're definitely going to be talking about that. And then we have, kind of a note about the location of the library. I have asked the library to be moved to a more central location on campus, and they laughed at me, and we all had a really good laugh over that. So just a little historical note, there used to be two libraries on campus, and that's why we don't find it centrally located. The Horn Center used to be a secondary library. There was a library at the top of campus and a library at lower campus. So that's why we're feeling it's not very centrally located. It's because we used to have two. Let's see. Fighting the time. Yes, time management can be an issue for sure. But I do hope you come to visit us. Let's see. Digital tech savvy. Okay, well, we can definitely work on an acquaintance with everything in the library. We can talk about things, ways that we can kind of acquaint ourselves, and hopefully we can make ourselves feel a little bit more comfortable. Not on campus and very much. Well, one thing that I can say is that about 85 to 90% of what we're going to talk about today, you are able to do remotely. So they do have quite a significant amount of information that is online. And so luckily you don't have to actually be physically in the library to obtain a lot of that information. The capacity, so we're limited, there's a note here that says that, the library is crowded. We're especially crowded because of the closure of the USU, which I always just like to say, I'm sorry. But with the closure of the USU, that does mean that we're having a lot more traffic. We are limited to the number of chairs we can put in the library because of the age of our building. The fire marshal only allows us to put so many chairs in the library. We did add over 150 chairs over the summer in order to kind of accommodate the USU closure. So hopefully that's a little bit more helpful. You'll find those on the first floor. But we are aware, and we are doing everything we can to add as many chairs as possible. Okay. Let's see. And then we have the confused, and then it says online database can be confusing for healthcare admins, even with the website. Okay, so we're seeing a little bit common themes, right? We're seeing the not availability to be on campus, the distance to get to the library. So there's some physical factors there. And then we have some digital factors, right? Finding it confusing, overwhelming, or not straightforward. So these are definitely things that we can talk about today. Like I said, with the physical library, I have very little control over what I can do, but please know that I try as best I can to try to make everything as comfortable as possible for you all. But we will talk about hopefully some things today that will address some of these barriers. My goal at the end of today is that we can take these barriers down and we're all feeling a lot more comfortable and confident with library sources. Okay. All right. So just keep in mind, we're going to go and I'm going to do some sample searching. I'm going to do some things right now, but keep that chat available because I will be asking for you to engage with it with our timetabler. Okay. All righty. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. Give me 1 second here. To grab that share. Here we go. Okay. So it's loading right now. So we're starting with the library's homepage. A couple of things I like to point out on the library's homepage, so you are acquainted, is that we have this gray, kind of grayish bar up here at the top. I like to point out a couple of things. Each of these is a button that you can click on. There's also a little drop-down menu. So this tells us some available services. One of my favorites to point out is this little tiny how-to. When we click on that plus sign, it tells us how to check out a book, how to find items on reserve, borrowing from another library, printing. We do have printers in the library, things like that. So if you have any questions and you're not quite ready to talk to a person about that, this is a great place to just kind of do some exploring on your own to find out some of these things. Now I'm going to pause over borrowing from another library for a second because I do want to talk about that. So anything that you find, whether it's an article or a book, and you would like a copy, and you find that the library doesn't have a copy, we don't own it, we will get it for you free of charge. You don't have to pay anything extra. We will go purchase or we will go borrow that so that you can have access to that. We're a consortia library. That also means that we have access to every single library within the CSU system. So if there is a book that just happens to live in San Diego, you really want that item, we will grab that, and we will go ahead and facilitate everything for you. So just keep that in mind. There should be nothing that is unavailable to you. Okay, given the time, you have to make sure you have time. Sometimes it takes us 24 hours for digital items, 5 days for physical items. So keep that in mind, but everything should be available to you. The other thing I like to point out is, of course, help, because that's what librarians love to do. There is a list of our librarians right here under Contact Librarians, including myself. This is a great way if you want to email me with any questions. You can just click on my face. That'll take you to a way that you can email me. But here are all of our other librarians. Like I said, we have 20 of them, each of them with a different specialty. All right, so let's go back to the library's homepage. The hours are here. If you are going to come up to the library, just keep in mind that our hours do change kind of daily. I mean, there's a pattern. Wednesday through Thursday, we're open the latest. Also, during finals, we are open very late, sometimes midnight or 2 a.m., depending on the staffing that we have. So keep that in mind too, that that we do keep it open really late during finals to accommodate, kind of getting ready for that. Okay, so let's start right here with the with OneSearch. Okay, so the thing that I first want to talk about is locating books, because I know that a lot of you were saying that you don't come up to the library very often, but we do have a rather expansive digital book collection. So that means that you don't actually have to come into the library to grab a book. I do find books to be really helpful, especially if you're doing something like a business plan or something that requires you to have like an introductory section. Sometimes books do a really good job of giving you a background information for that introduction section. So we're going to go ahead and start, and I'm going to change this right here from search everything to books and media. You'll notice there's two different versions. You can look through every CSU or just our local collection. So I'm going to start with our local collection. I'll go ahead and do a search. Okay, we have, let's see, 16 results. I think that might have to do with the fact that I apparently was yelling when I put the title in. But that's okay, because this is still going to demonstrate what it looks like for each item. We have what what kind of item it is right here. This is a book, so we know that that's a book. And in green will be how we can access that item. So this is an online book. So we could go ahead and click on that, and this will tell us the different ways that we can access that online item. So it looks like we have two different vendors that put out this online book. So we could click on either of those, and this would take us to the online item. Let's see if this one's going to work for me today. And don't be surprised if it asks you to sign in like 5 times, like over the course of your search. For some reason, it loves to do that. Okay, so when you click on an ebook, it will generally have some sort of screen like this that comes up. It depends on the vendor what this screen looks like, so expect them to sometimes look different. This one's coming from ProQuest eBook Central. So you can either read that online, which would mean that you have to have internet access when you're reading it, or you could download the book or the chapter. Okay, this one is, you can get up to 96 pages at a time. Okay, and then you can have this book for 180 days. There is some metadata. That means that once you download that book, it will kind of remove itself after that 180 days. So just keep that in mind. But if I wanted to go ahead and do this book, I could go ahead and look at the chapters and see which chapter, looked the best for me. So keep in mind, when you're looking at an online book, you don't have to read the whole thing. Maybe, for example, I want to look at Foundations of Healthcare Marketing, and this is my favorite thing. I could go ahead and just look at that one chapter and move on. Okay, so that gives you a good intro to ebooks. Let's go back here. I'll go ahead and close that, and we'll go here. Let's see if we pulled a physical item. Here we go. So this is what would happen if you were to locate a physical item. So this is, instead of being a digital book, this is a physical book. You would need to come into the library to retrieve it. To do that, you can do it one of two ways. You can either request it, which means that they will pull it for you and they will put it in a locker outside the library's front doors. That does take a couple of days for them to go up and pull it, because, and put it into the locker. But if are short on time or aren't, on campus when the library is open, this is a great feature for that. The other option is to go into the stacks to find this item. So one thing that I like about the way that our books are organized in the library is that we use Library of Congress, not the Dewey Decimal System. And what that means is that all of the books that are related to healthcare marketing are going to be all near each other on the shelf. So if I just find this one that I like in the RA section, I can go into that section and then look around on the shelves, physically look around like I'm browsing in a bookstore, and see if there are any other titles that jump out at me for something that I like. So for example, if we look right here, this is RA 410 and this is RA 564. So these could be really near each other on the shelf, right? Because there's not going to be a book for every single number, right? So there's going to be these actually could be right next to each other on the shelf. Okay, so keep that in mind if you want to go in and browse. Browsing physically allows you to kind of look around and see what's available. You can check out up to 50 books at a time. So keep that in mind. If you'd like to go crazy and just check out a whole bunch of books, you can absolutely do that. And then you get the books for 16 weeks at a time. So you get it for the entirety of the semester. So if you have something that you'd like to go ahead and check out, then this is a great feature for you. Okay, so I'm just going to pause right here, and I'm going to do this periodically because I do tend to talk a little fast. So I'm just going to take a breath for a second here, and we're going to come back together to our little, Brady Bunch mode. And I'm going to ask if we have any questions so far. We've already covered a lot of material. We've talked about the physical library. We've talked about some of these barriers. And we've talked about how to locate books both digitally and physically. Are there any questions so far? If you have one, please feel to hop on the mic or the chat. Let me know.
I have a question just because I noticed at this time. The books that are physically there appear to have older dates. Does that kind of lend to the fact that the newer books are mostly digital now?
Well, it has to do with the policy of collection. During COVID, we switched to an e-book model where we were collecting primarily or only digital books. And so that policy kind of went from 2019 all the way till about 2023, when we were everyone was still kind of working from home and we were still having people kind of re-engaging in the physical space. So only now really are we getting more traffic into the library. So you'll probably see that now kind of rebound back the other way, where you're going to see some more physical items because now we're actually having people come into the physical library again. Does that make
Are there
sense?
cases where y'all have it both ways, where you have the physical and the digital?
Sometimes we do, especially with a faculty request. If they request a secondary copy of a specific item, then a lot of times we'll go ahead and purchase multiple items. But I do have a tendency to kind of lean more towards the physical now that that policy has been released. I try to do a little bit more 50-50. There are some librarians that still lean towards the digital, but that's the difference that you're seeing in the timing. Yeah, good
I was
question.
just
Love that
curious.
question. No, love that question. Love questions. Okay, but seeing if that's the only question, just from Linda, is that the only question? Oh, yes. I'm seeing your note in the chat. Everything from the library is free. Okay. Everything, I'm going to repeat that because it's important. Everything from the library is free. We actually don't have a mechanism to charge anybody anything in the library. So printing is actually beach shops. The cafe is actually beach shops. Everything from the library is free. We believe in free access for all. The only way that you might possibly get charged is if for a late fee, and I don't even know if they're doing that anymore. And then those late fees don't even get processed by the library; they get processed at Brotman Hall. So I like I said, I don't even know if they're charging late fees anymore. I'm not even sure if they're doing that. So everything from the library is free. That's my very long way of answering the question. Okay. All right. So we're going to go hop right back in. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. Thank you for those questions, and we're going to go right back in. Okay, so here we are. We went through OneSearch. We're going to go back right here, and I'm gonna retype that so it's a little bit better. But so instead of looking at books this time, we're going to go ahead and change that pre-filter to articles. because I do think OneSearch does a pretty good job of looking for articles as well, but you're going to notice that some of the filters and some of the mechanisms are going to be different. So I'm going to change that to articles in my little pre-filter. I'm going to go ahead and put in healthcare marketing and do my search again. So now you'll notice it's searching Articles Plus. It is going to ask me to sign in yet again. Okay, so here we got 1,000, let's see, no, 162,274 results. Okay, so one thing that I like to point out is when you're looking through these articles, because that can be a little bit overwhelming, there are these filters over here on the side. You don't need to click full text online because that's just telling you we might have a copy, so I don't necessarily think that filter is as helpful as it acts like it is. But I do think peer-reviewed journals is a good one to start with. And then I always go ahead and check and see if there's anything in here that I want to make sure that I'm covering. Publication date's important. So this goes all the way back to 1801. So I am going to go ahead and change that to 2020 and update that to get some of the older things are out. So now you can see my active filters up here on the top. This one is active right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit peer reviewed and apply that as well. And then the one that I really find can be more powerful than you would think is this one on subject. When I go ahead and hit that right there and I kind of start scrolling down, I can see some of the nuances that can happen in my search. So for example, even though I have thousands of articles pulled here, there are going to be some that lean more into public health. Well, if that is the kind of marketing that I'm looking into, maybe I want to only see those articles. Maybe I want to look at the medicine side. Maybe I want to see how that's going to impact patients. So these are just kind of subsets of some of the articles, and I do find that they can be really helpful. So let's just say I want to lean really heavy into the marketing side of things. I can go ahead and click that. But let's just say I also think, well, what if I clicked healthcare? What if I say I want to look at the services and policy? I can click multiple different ones and then go ahead and apply those filters down here at the bottom. And now that's going to change some of what I pull back. So, I clicked a bunch just to demonstrate you can click more than one, but if you're really focused on a particular area, using just one of these subject filters can be really helpful. Okay, so, and again, the subject filters aren't in every database, but I think they are especially strong tools in OneSearch. Okay, so OneSearch does a really nice job of explaining where the full text is on some of these articles. So for example, article number 1 right here, we have the trends, the progress and trends in healthcare marketing strategy from 2018 to 2022. So I can get the PDF right here. Love that. This is going to be essentially the full text all on one big long page. So that's going to be read it online. And then it's basically give me a link to the full text as well. So each of these is going to be a different way that I could access that information. You'll also notice that OneSearch does a great job of telling you that it's peer reviewed. Now I did my peer reviewed filter so I could know which ones were peer reviewed. But if you find an article and you haven't put that filter, it's nice that they have this little infographic right here to tell you which are and are not peer reviewed. The other thing you can do is if you find an article in a different resource, so for example, you're using Google Scholar and you're trying to determine if it's peer reviewed because that's a requirement for your assignment, then you're going to want to go ahead and just paste the title in and you can do a search at the library to determine if it's peer reviewed or not. Okay. All right. So this is, I find it to be pretty straightforward. I do think the filters work really strong. And this is just something you can browse through to find and see if there's anything that is interesting for you for your assignment. Now, my search is very broad. I just put in healthcare marketing, right? It was very, very broad. If you put in something a little bit more narrow in scope, then you're going to have fewer results to deal with. Right now we have 4,000. That's a lot. But keep in mind that these are sorted by relevance. So usually the ones that are most relevant are going to be at the top. So that should be helpful for you as well. So I do like to just point out that, OneSearch does books and articles. It's a great place to start. But in addition to looking for articles in OneSearch, so let me show you more specific places you can look. So think of OneSearch as like the Target version, right? It's going to have a little bit of everything. It has shoes and mascara and tortillas. I don't know. But you could get any of those things, right, at your general Target. But let's just say I wanted to get, some very specific shoes. I wanted to make sure that I was getting just some purple Converse high tops. I don't know. But if I wanted those, I may need to go to a very specific shoe store to find that item. And that is the difference between searching in something like OneSearch and searching in something like some of our more specific databases. It's the difference between looking at something that carries a little bit of everything and looking at something that's going to specialize in that type of information. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that. I'm going to go back to the library's homepage. So here we've covered everything for OneSearch. Now I'm going to talk about these two links right down here. Okay. So now this right here is databases. When you click on that, it's going to bring you to an alphabetical list of our databases for every department on campus. So if you know which one is your favorite, and eventually you might get to that point where you're like, oh, Academic Search Complete, that's my favorite. I know that it's like the 5th one down. I love that one so much. I'll click on it and get to it from there. Now, if you're looking at ones that you want to make sure are more topically, right? They're more topically specific. So that's when I suggest you go to the research guides and pay special attention here, because in our assignment together today, this is going to be your first step. So you're going to click on research guides and you're going to scroll down to, shocker, healthcare administration. Oh, I passed it. Here we go. And you're going to click on this little link above. Ignore that yellow box because that's just going to take you back. So hit this right here. And here we have the jumping off point for healthcare administration. So basically what I've done here is I've collected a bunch of information in addition to databases, not just databases, other information as well that's related to topics for this course, right? So whether that's business information or health information, this is going to provide different access points for things just for this course, okay? So we have ways that we can find articles in databases. We'll talk about that in a second. This is just going to be another way that you can access OneSearch. You could go here too. This is health statistics. If you would like some data, some demographics for your information, this for your assignment, this provides a great kind of list of all the different links of places you can find information, right? We've got like the CDC is on here, the NIH, things like that. And then, of course, we have APA, which is where we're going to be. We'll talk about this in a little bit. APA, once you all are expert searchers, you're going to need to use APA to cite everything that you find. So let's go back to finding articles and databases, and we'll just kind of continue on that theme. So these are some of the top databases that I suggest for this specific topic. It is both multidisciplinary, business, and health databases. So keep in mind that because this specific topic is kind of a crossover of topics, it's both health and business together. You might have to look at some other databases, like some business ones and some health ones together to try to find information on your topic. So one way to do that is to go ahead. We can start with, any one of these, but I'm going to start with Academic Search Complete. It's multidisciplinary, so I like it. It's a great one to start with. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Academic Search Complete. Okay, so here we are, Academic Search Complete. Some of you may be familiar. It's an EBSCO database, so it looks like all the other EBSCO databases. It's got 3 boxes and some stuff down here we could use. Now, the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add both a health and a business database to my search right away. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Academic Search Complete, and then I'm going to select Business Source Premier, which is this one right here, and CINAHL, which is a health database. That's what the HL is, health literature. I'm going to add those two so that I can go ahead. I'm going to hit select down here. And now I'm searching at, basically, it's like I'm searching at Foot Locker and Dick's Sporting Goods, and I don't know, where else can you buy shoes? I don't know, some other specialty shoe place, right?
DSW.
There we go. Thank you. DSW. Thank you, Linda. Right. I'm searching at 3 different places at the same time. Right. So it's smooshing all of those together. So it's looking at multiple places. Now, the difference is that one of them is a little bit more health and one of them is a little bit more business. Right. So I'll go ahead and do my healthcare marketing again. But let's just say this time I want to add another topic, and I'm going to add in social media. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do social media. I'm going to go ahead and see, okay, I feel like that's a good start. I'll go ahead and hit search. Okay, and I got 245 results right here. Easy peasy, no problem. Now, but I could be saying, well, gosh, once I put on some filters about the dates and peer reviewed, maybe this number is a little bit too small to start with. So let's go back to that advanced search screen and talk about ways that I could change this. And by a show of thumbs up, can you guys tell me how many of you been in this position where you're looking for something and you're maybe not getting as many as you would like? You've maybe done a search and you're maybe not getting as many as you thought you might. Yeah. So this is a good strategy for that when you're trying to expand your search, and especially if you use like maybe a more narrow topic to start. This is a great way to kind of expand your search. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move social media down one, and I'm going to separate healthcare and marketing because I want to think about the different ways that I could say those terms. So I'm going to say, well, healthcare could also mean healthcare or hospital or health services. Marketing could mean advertising or promotion or branding. Social media could mean all of the different types of social media. Sure, let's throw TikTok. I'd love to see the hospital's TikTok. Let's throw TikTok in there. We got that. Okay. So now I'm not really changing my topic. I'm changing the vocabulary that I'm using to describe it because hospital advertising could be very similar to healthcare marketing, but those are two different ways to state that. So it's a conversation that you're having with a database that's going to be a little bit different, right? With Google, we know that if we put something in Google, it's going to make those assumptions, right? It's going to be like, oh, by marketing, I know you also mean advertising. Okay. The databases don't do that. And they don't do that on purpose. They're trying to bring you back only exactly what you want. They're not trying to bombard you with wrong answers. They only want to give you what you want. So if you are flexible with some topic, like terminology, right? So if you're okay with some flexible vocabulary, make sure that you're telling it so. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that search, and this should expand the pool a little bit. It's thinking. Okay, so maybe we overdid it a little. Here we go. We've got 6,000, right? 6,000 results now. I'm okay with this, right? Because I wanted to throw my net out really wide. So now here's where we can come and we can address what could be another issue. Thumbs up if you've ever been in this position where you're like, oh my gosh, that's way too many articles. I'm overwhelmed. Like, what's going on? This is too many. Okay. So sometimes, yeah, sometimes we can have that feeling where it's like maybe we weren't specific enough. Maybe. So one thing that we can do is we can add another term. Anytime we add something with and, we're going to filter out even more, but we can also use some of our filters. So we use them in OneSearch. Let's use them here as well. I'm going to go ahead and do peer reviewed. Go ahead and add that. I'm going to go ahead and change my dates to last 5 years. That's a good kind of ballpark for me. Check your assignment on that though. Check all your assignments every time. Source type, I want to make sure that I'm getting only academic journals, right? I don't want a trade magazine or somebody's dissertation or something. So I'm going to go ahead and do only those. Now there are other ones that we could use over here. If you click on all filters, there'll be a little pop-up that comes up. One that I like to add, and that's I'm limited. I can only fluently read English. So I like to go ahead and just pick English right off the bat because Lord knows I'd fall in love with these Turkish like articles and I think they were like 100% the best. And then I get all sad because I couldn't read them. And this is just a great way to avoid sadness. So please click however many languages you are fluent in. I'm just with the English, sadly. Okay, so here we go. Now we started with 6,000. Now we're down to 2,000. Okay, but most importantly, I've informed the database all of the little things that I require for a good search. I want it to be peer reviewed. I want it to be 5 years. I want it to be an academic journal. I need it to be in English. So now each selection that I'm making, I'm informing the database more about what I want. And so now it is coming back and telling me Health advertising on Instagram, is it effective while following ethical guidelines? So maybe this is something that I might be interested in reading. Okay, so this is then when you need to come and kind of start looking at, are these articles about what you want them to be about? Because if they're not about what you want them to be about, then you might need to go up here and kind of change some of your terms, take out a term, add a term, change a topic, things like that. So now another thing to keep in mind is the way that we can access these. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these right here. And you'll notice right here that there's a little box down here. Now this looks a little bit different. If you've used EBSCO before, they changed it over the summer. This looks a little bit different than it would before. Right now it says access options. So I encourage you to go ahead and look at whenever it says access options, go ahead and give it a check, because here it's providing both the PDF and other copies. Okay, so of course the PDF, easy peasy. We click on that. It's going to go ahead and pull that up for us, and it's going to show us the entirety of that article. Easy peasy. Okay, so now you might see other language used. Go back to the results list. So here's that one that said access options. Then you might see this one right here that just says check CSULB. Now don't be discouraged that you don't see the PDF here, because that doesn't necessarily, this isn't a reflection of whether or not you can get the PDF. It's just a reflection of whether or not the 3 places that we are searching right now have the PDF. And that's different, because sometimes if I click on this, I'll just click on this one and we'll see. This is basically checking all the other databases, because there's over 300 of them, to see if this article just happens to live somewhere else. Okay, so here, right here, we can see it happens to live in ProQuest and free journals. Now, if you ever have the option to pick the paid for version over the free version, pick the paid for version. They oftentimes will not put you back to a table of contents. They're going to take you directly to the article. Sometimes those free versions take you to a table of contents. It's just not as direct. It's still there. It's just not as direct. Okay. So here we are. We have that same thing. And then there's the PDF that you can access right there. Okay. So don't be discouraged if you don't see that PDF right away. You sometimes just have to do that click and then figure out which PDF you want to look at. Okay. So keep that in mind. So now you might also find, let's see, let me go back to our results list. And let's see if we can find one that we don't have, which is sometimes a challenge. Let's see. I just want to show you what to do when we don't own something, because the screen will look a little bit different. And I'll only take a second. If we can't find one, then we'll just talk about it. The screen will look a little bit different. Oh, this one's in Orca. Oh, sign in. Okay, come on, guys, with the signing in. Okay, so this one right here is saying that we have physical copies. So this is 2025. Okay, so this is actually a great one, actually, because if you see, this is published in 2025. Okay, this is saying we have physical copies of this journal going up to 2024. Well, that's not going to cover what we need. So then I need to scroll down a little bit further, and then I would need to request it. So basically what this means is that we got a subscription to this journal up until 2024, and then our subscription, lapsed, and it was selected not to repurchase. So then this is how you can get this article. You'll just click get it. And what happens is that then our tech team goes in, they try to find a copy from another library. They will either borrow or purchase that from the other library, because there's copyright issues involved. We can't just borrow from some other people. Sometimes they make us purchase it, but that's okay. That is no cost to you. The library pays for that. Okay. But also keep in mind that if the library is paying for it, don't click on something you don't really actually need, right? So if this was something that I'm not going to click get it right now because I'm just demonstrating, right? I don't actually want this article. But if this was your favorite article ever, you super need it for your assignment, go ahead and request it. We will cover the cost. We will send you an email when the PDF arrives. And this one is estimating that PDF is going to take 24 hours to arrive to you. So also keep in mind that don't do this 3 hours before your paper is due, because that is not going to be helpful for you. Okay. All right, so we've talked about the different ways that we can access some of these. Now, you'll also notice it's allowing me to search Google Scholar for the copy. So let's just talk about Google Scholar for a little bit as another way that you can search for information. So this is what I do before I request it. I like to know, well, maybe is there a free copy out in the real world that I could maybe access without having to wait the 24 hours? So I go ahead and search Google Scholar. So I'll go ahead and click that. Now we see that here's the title right here, but what I'm not seeing is a way to access it over here on the right-hand side. I could click on the title. That's going to take me to the publisher, however, where they're going to ask me to buy it. And I know that my library will get it for me for free. So when you're looking in Google Scholar, there's just something to keep in mind. So for example, if I'm looking at healthcare marketing, okay, let's look at healthcare marketing strategies. Sure. Okay, so I'm looking at that in Google Scholar. Now I'm using Google Scholar as my search engine or as my database. Okay, you'll see over here on the right-hand side, you'll see CSULB appearing and the little link right above it. Okay, so that's basically letting me know that the copy over here on the right-hand side, not the title copy, that's going to take you to the publisher. But this one right here, when I click on it, it's going to take me to a copy provided by the library. Okay, you can see that way up in the tippity top corner right there. Okay, and that's because I've set up my Google Scholar to look for items in our library. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. We're going to go here to Google Scholar. We're going to hit Menu, Settings, Library Links, and then I already have it set up, but you would then search CSULB, search, and save. And then every time you're looking in Google Scholar, you're also going to see this little area here, which basically routes you, instead of to the publisher, routes you over to a copy provided by the library. Now, you will have to authenticate yourself or sign in, as I've done 1,000 times today. You will have to sign in to get that copy, but it is going to be free and it will be available to you. Okay, so if you're ever having problems with access, check here first, because it could be that, like, the ones and zeros are just not providing an accurate pathway. So then this provides a great way for you to find other copies. Okay, so that brings us up to 4 different ways that we can access the full text. Okay, we have our PDF. We have our find full text to look other places. We have Google Scholar, and then we have that request box. That gives us 4 different ways that we can access the full text. So hopefully that will kind of take down any barriers that we were having for finding the full text of an item. Okay, so the only other thing that I want to talk about before we get started on our assignment is, of course, now that you're all expert searchers, we're going to talk about APA, because we really want to make sure that we are, that we're looking at, keeping track of everything that we're citing, making sure that we're not, kind of summarizing without citing. We want to cite everything. Just cite everything unless it's your own original thought or a well-known fact like the sun rises. You want to make sure that everything that you're using, you're citing. Okay, so if you've read an article and you've had an idea from that, and you're paraphrasing, totally fine. Just cite when you're paraphrasing as well. Okay, so when you find an article like this one right here, which seems a little off topic, but there must be something in here that's, I'm not sure why we're talking about nicotine, but right here we have these little quotation marks. When I click on that, it's going to bring up an example, right? A citation generator is going to bring this right here. Now, the reason why I selected this article is because I knew that the citation generator was going to be wrong. Okay. So the reason why I knew it was going to be wrong was because it was wrong in a very predictable way. Now, when I'm looking at this reference, pretty much everything else looks correct to me. Yes, everything else is correct except the capitalization, right, of the title. When I go back and look at this article, the author or the editor has chosen to capitalize every single word here. Proper APA is only first word after a colon, or a proper noun. So when the robot goes in and grabs the data for the title, it's not going to fix that for you. It's just going to plop it into the formula. So you need to go in and make sure that you are decapitalizing when you need to. Now, for our assignment today, you don't need to go in and noodle. I just want you to know that for your regular assignments, you may need to noodle, right? You may need to go in and do little fixes on some of these if you're going to use the citation generators. Okay, so I'm going to, again, do one of our stops together. We're going to take a minute before we get started on our little assignment together. We're going to take a minute to address any questions about searching or search strategies. Any questions? Okay. All right. This says to me, y'all are ready. Means you're ready. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at our assignment. So to summarize, you're all are going to be put into groups, little breakout room situation where you can all get to know each other a little bit better. So here we have basically our escape room. Okay. So you all are going to be assigned one slide as a group. Okay. And there's going to be, quite a number of you. There's going to be probably about 5 or 6 people per room. So this should be light work. Okay. We're going to work together to try to basically do a search together. So all the steps that we just did, finding a database, putting in our terms, finding an article, citing it, all of those steps that we did together, you are now going to do in small breakout rooms so that you can have that hands-on experience before I release you into the wild and you have to go ahead and do these assignments on your own. Okay. So the first couple of slides in this slide deck are instructional. If you've been paying attention today, you don't even need to look at these, but they're going to tell you how you can access the databases. So you can either do it through the library tools button in Canvas. Okay. So that's available to you. Or this shows you how to do it, or you can get there the way that we did today, which is through that little research guides button on the homepage. Either one works. They're both going to drop you off at the same place, which is going to look like this, where we started out today. You're going to click on the articles and databases tab right there, and then you're going to pick a database that you feel works with your topic. You'll each have a topic for a slide that'll look something like this, okay, or a little bit. Here's the first one for group 1. Okay, you're going to need to do a group name, and you get invisible extra credit if it's funny. I'm just telling you, you get invisible extra credit if it's funny. Okay, you have your database that you're going to select. So whichever database you feel is best. Okay, we talked about several today, a business one, academic search complete, OneSearch was one. Okay, what keywords or filters you used, and then what article you liked. You're going to put that in this box right here. So essentially, you're going to fill in these central boxes. The ones over here are helping you to figure out how to address that. And then over here on the right-hand side, you're going to complete all the steps. There is a jigsaw puzzle way down at the bottom here. You'll need to complete that jigsaw puzzle. You're going to take some information from the jigsaw puzzle and answer this question. And then y'all are going to decide on one thing that you learned today. Once all of this is done, that means you have escaped the escape room and you can come back to the main room, and then you can just hang until everybody's done. Okay. So are there any questions about this slide deck?
Only one person per group needs to fill it out, or do we each need to?
So there's just the one slide. So you can either delegate a scribe, if you will. It's a great question. You can either delegate one person to fill it out as you're all talking together, or each person can fill out different parts. It's really up to you how you manage the work. But there is just the one slide for the group. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Of course, of course. Any other questions about how this will work? Oh, where do we access the slide deck? Yes, I'm just about to drop it into the chat. So let me go ahead and put that into the chat. Make sure I send it to everyone. Okay, we're going to put that into the chat. And then we're going to go ahead and make our groups if everybody's ready. Last chance to ask questions. I will be popping in too, so don't be alarmed if all of a sudden I appear in your room. And it's just for me to come in and just make sure that y'all are doing okay. You don't have any questions, a little bit of one-on-one help or 1-on-6 help if you guys need that. If you don't, then I'll just buzz right back out again. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to go with no questions. let's see, we'll go ahead and let's see. Oh, Linda, will you make the breakout rooms for me, or will you make
Sure,
me
of course.
co-host? Or will you make me co-host and I'll do it, whichever one you want to do?
I'll do the breakout rooms, but I'll go ahead and make you co-host.
Okay,
Well,
perfect.
okay, let's see. There's 24 actually. We lost
Let me
some somewhere
see.
along the way.
Oh,
So with
uh-oh. Okay.
four
Let's
you
see.
want four to a group,
Well,
or
let's make 5 rooms.
5 rooms. Okay.
Yeah,
And assign it automatically.
that's fine. Unless you have a
Okay.
particular, I don't, yeah, they can do whatever.
Don't care. Okay. No, sounds good to me.
Okay. All right, y'all. So we're bringing everybody back in. They're going to come back together. I think that's everyone. Oh, yeah, the 30 seconds is nice. The 30 seconds is nice because it's I always feel like we're twisting in the wind a little bit when it's a minute. All right, so welcome back, everybody. I hope everyone found that assignment to be not too challenging and basically something where we're immediately putting to use things that we discussed. I always find that doing always helps me to kind of process the information that I'm trying to absorb. So hopefully that is the same for you. So in our last few seconds here together, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and just kind of review the slide deck that we built together, and we'll kind of take a look and see how everybody did. All right, let me make that a little bit bigger here. Okay, so here we go in room 1. They are the, I love this. They are the PubMed prodigies. So again, extra credit for giving me a chuckle. Love it. Invisible extra credit, of course. So they were looking at leadership styles of hospital administrators. They were able to find an article that was related. And one thing that they learned today was how to access and filter the CSULB databases that are available. Perfect, perfect. Love that. Amazing. Thank you, room 1. Moving on to room 2, who are the one search oracles. Oh my gosh, the alliteration is going off. Okay, so then we've got, they're using social media and health and wellness. They found an article that was related. And let's see. Okay, let's see. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so if you have a chance, if you could come back and tell me one thing you learned today, I can check on that later. All right, now we have the sleep deprived, the sleep deprived adolescents. Very good. All right, so they are looking at telehealth and nursing shortages. They found an article about telenursing. And one thing they learned today was how to properly navigate through the library portal to access scholarly articles. Brilliant, brilliant. Love it so much. Okay, again, invisible extra credit. We love the funny names. Okay, artificial intelligence rules the world. That is both funny and very scary. Okay, so how will artificial intelligence impact healthcare was their research term. They were finding an article that was related, a generative AI in healthcare. And one thing they learned today was how to navigate the library. Very good, very good. All right, room 4 killing it. All right, going on to room 5. They are the they are the hippopotami, or hippopotamus. They're looking at the sleep quality of academic achievements in high school students. They were able to find an article about sleep insufficiency and how that impacts performance of high school students. And one thing that they learned today was how to use the search guides to narrow down their searches. Well, it seems like everybody did very well on this assignment. Hopefully everybody kind of felt like they took something away. And we're coming back to room 2. They learned how to use keywords and correctly search in the one search bar. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so here's the deal, gang. So I hopefully today we brought down some of those barriers that we had at the beginning of our time together. I want to leave you with this, that I care about you and your success. I want you to do well. So if you are struggling with research and you need help with anything, please reach out to me. I saw you that you can go ahead and, click on my profile and you can email me directly. I do try to get back within 24 to 48 hours. And whatever works best for you, that is how we can meet, whether it's making you a video, we do things over email, a Zoom, in person, whatever you need, I am here for it. Okay. So are there any questions before we run away and have a great day? Okay, seeing no questions, I have one question for you. If you could give me just a thumbs up to tell me if you are feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident with library sources after our time together. Excellent. All right. Well, it seems like they're ready to kill it, Linda.
Okay, y'all hang on for just one second. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Of course.
We appreciate you, and I will see you this evening.
Yeah, see you tonight.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay, kiddos. Just wanted to remind y'all, I sent an email out yesterday that there is an extra credit opportunity for you on Friday night by Zoom. The link is on the flyer that I attached. You get 2 points for coming to the extra credit and staying, not just to appear and then disappear, because I will be there. And it'll be interesting for you to find out what it's like to be first year out, working in a job that he absolutely loves. So he was in the same class, right, 2 years, year and a half ago that y'all are in right now. So it'll be a great experience for y'all to listen to him, plus 2 points extra credit. And that's 2 points right on the top. So that means if you made an 8 on a quiz, then that would bump you up as if you made, a 10. And because I do give a lot of opportunities for extra credit at the end, if you're missing an A or a B or C or whatever by just a little bit, I will check and see if you took advantage of the extra credit. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you, because typically students can get up to 10 to 12 points extra credit throughout the semester by going to these things on Zoom. Okay, any questions? We do not have class on Thursday. You're to get together, work with your groups or whatever y'all need to do to get that project going. And other than that, I will see y'all. I don't know if we have class next Tuesday or not. I think we do. I can't remember. Do we have class next Tuesday? Anybody got the thing in front of them? I haven't looked at it. Can't remember.
I don't think so.
Okay. I'll send out a message. Good. Thank you so much.
No,
Then
we
if you
don't.
remember, I'm sorry.
No, we don't. Sorry. I have a Google Calendar of all the dates that you put on the syllabus.
Okay, super. All right, then. So we won't meet next Tuesday. I will always send y'all an update of some sort to remind you. And if you have any questions, just because we're not meeting in the class doesn't mean y'all shouldn't meet as a group. And it also doesn't mean I'm not completely available to you anytime. All you have to do is just text me, call me, email me, whatever it takes, and you'll usually get a response within a few minutes. Okay. Have a great week.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, I'll go talk to her tomorrow too. I think that'll be a good idea. I'm meeting with her tomorrow. Dr. Eliana?
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Oh,
you were
sorry.
talking. Oh,
Oh,
super. Okay.
yeah.
So
I'll talk
you
to her.
haven't gotten fixed on that yet?
I haven't. I've gotten I've gotten connections with my colleagues and cohorts. There is this one hospital called Kindred Hospital in Santa
Mhm.
Ana, and that seemed really interesting. Not only because of the distance. I live in Garden Grove, by the way. It's
Oh,
next door to
oh,
me.
okay.
Yeah.
Better.
Most people are actually from like LA and Long Beach, and then I was like, I'm one street down. I'm on the same street as Westminster and Santa Ana. I
Oh
go
my
to all of them
goodness.
at the same time. So,
Yeah,
so
that would be a good match.
that'd be great because I think the first internship was at in Yorba Linda, which wasn't
Oh
too
my
bad.
goodness. But yeah, but it's still, you have to go through those to get there.
Yeah, the 22, the 57 it's hard.
It's ugly. That is my second least favorite highway here. My first least favorite is 91. I hate that thing with a passion. Oh my God, I'd rather take a beating than get on that road. I just hate it.
The 91 is the worst. I think that we all. And then um oh, I know this doesn't relate to this class, but I'm in the population health management class with Professor Hayes,
Huh?
and I'm just trying to describe a population and for a demographic, and I'll probably just a question for her, but I'm trying to do like pharmaceutical drug costs. That would be pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
or health
Mm-hmm.
intervention. Yeah, I was
Right.
interested in that pharmaceutical side.
Today she showed some stat where you could find stats in the library. I bet you could find something on that to give you a good starting point.
Yeah, that was really interesting. That was an eye popper for me.
Good.
Thank,
Good.
thank you.
Glad to hear
Take
it.
this lesson to the other class. Thank you.
Good, good, good. Okay. All right.
Have
Have
a
a
nice
good
day,
one.
Dr. Martinez. Bye.
Bye-bye. Kawabi,
Hey,
what's
Dr.
up?
I just wanted to thank you for the extension. I will
Oh,
have
sure.
the proposal thing done by tonight and I will
Okay.
submit it. But thank
Did you
you.
figure it out? I mean, yeah, so you were able to get it taken care of.
Yeah, so the only thing is I contacted support and they were saying that basically what went through my mind when I was purchasing the thing was I got the textbook and the access because it was the same price as just the access. But I didn't realize that when I clicked that option, the access code would come in the textbook. So I'm still waiting on the textbook to arrive. It should be here within this week.
Did you get a hard copy or did you get a digital?
No, a hard copy. Because
Oh,
it
okay.
didn't show me a digital like option, or else I would have done that. But it just gave me the option for a hard copy or an access or a access with the hard copy.
Well, that's so odd because I sent that link out and that was for digital, both to be digital. So
Yeah.
that's weird. Well, as long as you got it taken care
Yep.
of.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.